Timed just a few days before our senior diplomat's departure for Beijing and a few days before the State of the Union, a spy vessel traversed America over some of our most sensitive sites. What was the response from the Biden administration? To allow it to execute its mission and only to intercept it once it was over the ocean. Why would they do that? Let's talk to two people who understand the threat of China and have served this nation with honor. Member of the Trump administration cabinet, former Veteran Affairs Secretary, former Undersecretary of Defense, Newsmax's very own Robert Wilkie, and the author of a seminal work, The 100-Year Marathon on China, the Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow, Michael Pillsbury. Welcome, gentlemen, to Rob Schmidt Tonight.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Before we jump in, I'm going to ask Michael a question on how Beijing looked at this. But now that I've got you up here, as a man who understands strategy, Robert, can I get you to just jump in on how boneheaded this decision by DirecTV is? And what is your message right now to Newsmax viewers with regards to our cancellation?
Well, it's a threat to the fundamental first liberty that this nation has, and that is that First Amendment to the Constitution. We've been here before, Doctor. John Adams tried to arrest every editor in the country who didn't like him. Woodrow Wilson unleashed his attorney general on dissidents in 1919. Thankfully, they were thrown out of office in the next election, but this is dangerous. It cuts off America's ability to speak, to hear every side, and it punishes political thought, which is the most dangerous threat to any democracy.
Thank you, Secretary Wilkie. Michael, you understand how the CCP thinks. How are they selling the last week? How is Beijing touting the balloon escapade around the world?
Well, they're criticizing America for overreacting. They're sticking to their cover story that this was a weather balloon blown off course by the strong westerlies, that it has no, hostile intent. So they're sticking to their line, and they're attempting to imply that the Americans are not only weak, but they seem to be intimidated by China. This is a new theme for the Chinese, to suggest that not only is America in decline, but the Americans will not really take measures to protect themselves. I think it's a very dangerous narrative theme for the Chinese to put forward. And it seems to have some connection, Sebastian, to the Taiwan red lines. What they will do, they've been threatening for decades. If certain things happen on Taiwan, they will attack for sure. This seems to have been some kind of a test. So I agree with the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee today, Michael McCall, that this is a test and that we have essentially failed it. We did not react quickly. Yeah. That's how the Chinese are portraying this around the world.
And many questions still remain. What Mark Milley did, why he refused to shoot it down on Wednesday. Here's a little reminder of what Mark Milley did when President Trump was the commander-in-chief and his relations to his counterpart in the Chinese Communist Army. Here's a little cut from an interview. This is cut 8. Play cut.
China's not an enemy. And I think that's important for people to clearly understand. They are going to develop themselves and are developing themselves into a great power. That is not to say, however, that they are an enemy.
Did you or did you not tell him that if we were going to attack, you would let him know?
I said, hell, generally I'll probably give you a call, but we're not going to attack you. Trust me, we're not going to attack you.
But I think you articulating that you would tell him, you would give him a call, I think is worthy of your resignation.
You've served at cabinet level. You've been responsible for the readiness of all our armed forces, Secretary Wilkie. Who elected Mark Milley to tell the Chinese that we're not going to attack you? I'm confused.
That's right. And this is an indication of just how out of control the senior general officer corps is under the Obama-Biden administration, the continuum, that a four-star general who has no command authority, he's an advisor, would call his Chinese counterpart in violation of every military ethic that we were ever raised under. But there's a more important point here, Doctor. Calling the Chinese competitors. When somebody continues to tell you time after time after time that he wants to kill you, as Golda Meir said, you have to believe him. And that's why we are in such a mess here with the Chinese, because this administration and its military officials refuse to face reality.
If we had a justice system that actually wasn't politicized, that overweight, CRT-loving buddy of the CCP, Mark Milley, would be in the brig in shackles. Thank you, gentlemen. Read Michael's book, The 100-Year Marathon. It's not just censorship of Newsmax on DirecTV. It is censorship of all Americans